Okay, so we'll start creating this web project. So this will be a CRUD application with the login and logout option also, right? So I'm using Bootstrap for the styling, and we'll create this JSP and Servlet page by creating dynamic web project in my Eclipse IDE. So go to new, create dynamic web project. Then I'm going to give a name as Safari World for this project. Then click finish. After that it will create this project, right? So we have this project. So for the home page I'm going to use the name index.jsp as the file name, index.jsp page. So this is our home page, right? I'm going to add one h1 tag to test this page. H1 tag, welcome to home page. Let's run this program. I already configured my server. So if you haven't configured, you can watch the previous video and then you can configure your server, right? I'm using Tomcat version 10.1. so we'll run this on our server, right? So I need to save my file, then I will run. Right, so let's see whether this one is working or not. There is no errors. Then it should be open in our browser, right? You can see it's opening and it is printing my h1 tag. So we'll create our home page. For this one I am going to use Bootstrap, right? So we'll download Bootstrap CDN from the content delivery network. So from this site I'm going to download CSS HTML link. It will automatically copy it to, and then now we can paste it inside our header tag. Right, so we have pasted our Bootstrap link in the header tag. Then not I'm going to create my navigation bar, right? So for the navigation bar I'm going to use header tag. Inside header tag we will add our nav element with the class name navbar. So navbar nav, right? I'm going to add page logo. Right, so we'll give class name for this one, navbar brand. I'm going to save this file and we'll refresh our browser. Right, so we can see we have this Bootstrap logo, right? For the header section I'm going to give, for the navbar we'll give navbar dark color and background will be primary, right? And I'm going to add some margin for this link. So we'll give margin x-axis 2, right? So then not we'll add login button here, right? Margin from the x-axis 2 for this element and closing li element. Between these two I'm going to add a link. For the login, right? So we'll give class name for this one, so nav link, and margin x again will be 2. Right, so I'm going to add text color as a light color. We will keep this as same, and I'm going to give text admin login. So then after we can add footer section, right? I'm going to give text light color for this one, and 2024 copyright will be right. So we'll add this style for this line to fix that one in the bottom of the page. Position will be and I'm going to give width for this one as 100%. Right, so let's see, this is aligned into the bottom of the page. So we'll give the background color also same as our header. That means we can give a class name background primary, right? Right, then our text color will make light color, text light. So I'm going to add some content here. Then after we will create our login option. So for the main, we'll add the main tag here, and we'll give style. The margin top will be 5% of the page height. So I'm going to add the h1 tag. So we'll give class text align, text center. So welcome to Safari booking site. Then we can add some description here. So for that we'll use paragraph. So give some description, travel to best destination. Something like this. You can copy this content and paste it multiple times to generate some description, right? And I am going to align this center. Before that we will see whether that content is enough or not. Right, so now it is fine, right? I'm going to give margin for width for this one. Width will be for this main element. Right, so then after, if you want, you can add image here. Now I'm going to create my login page. When I click login page, then it should be navigate into the login.jsp file. So we'll create a login.jsp file, login, then after JSP file. Right, so here again we will paste our bootstrap link. We can take a copy from here, and I'm going to take entire page, right? So because we need this header and other thing also, we'll take entire copy of this section and paste it here, and we'll change this into admin login. I'm going to specifically configure admin login, right? So when we came into admin login page, on that time no need to show this admin login, right? So before that we will configure this path in the login page. So navigating page should be login.jsp, right? When I click admin login, it should be inside login.jsp. Now we are inside the login.jsp. So we can remove this content. Then not I am going to paste h1 admin login page. Right, so everything is working perfectly. Then we move into the login page. On that time, no need to place this admin login, right? So we can remove this section from here. Right, now we have only Safari World, that means page logo title, right? I am going to create a form here to collect this information. So we'll, instead of this h1 tag, right, I'm going to align this into the class text center. We'll give margin for this one. So we'll give bottom margin, right? And then now I'm going to add the form. Inside form we will create a division with the class name. Now here I'm going to take username and password, right? So that import type will be text for the username. Name will be okay. Let's see this inside the browser. I'm going to refresh. So we have this input field, but we can't see this one, right? Okay, we'll give border. Border as a primary color. Right, then after you can see this one, but I need to align this into the somewhere here, right? So we'll give some width for this form. I'm going to give W25. Margin X will be auto, then it will align into the center automatically. Right, so we'll give label for this one, which means username, right? Right, so I'm going to take a copy of this section and we'll create this for the password also. Now for the password, name should be user pass. So by using this name, you can catch this information inside our controller servlet, right? Then after label will be password. So after that, I'm going to add the button, that means submit button. So input type will be submit and value will be login, right? So let's see this one. So we have this button. We can give a color for this one. I'm going to give class button will give success, right? Green color. Okay, so we have this nice admin login page. Now when I submit this form, this information need to be sent into the backend. That means to my servlet page. For that we need to add action here where we are going to submit. When I submit, it should be navigate into login request, right? Or login admin. Right, so whenever we submit this form, it will be submit into this login admin with this username and password. Now I'm going to refresh this one. and we will type user 12345 and click login. On that time it will submit into login admin with the username and password. Here you can see username and password because we are using get method to submit this information, right? And for the password I am going to give type as a password. Right, now we can create our servlet. So we have successfully created home page, login page, and then now we can create our servlet, right? So before that we will add link for here. It will refer to the index.jsp page. In the index page also index.jsp. Right, so I'm going to create a page, that means class. So you can create servlet directly, or you can create a class and convert it into servlet, right? So I will create class, then now we will convert this into the servlet. So this will be login controller class. So you can give a package for this one. I'm going to give st.login. Right, so here we are going to catch that request and response, right? So here when you submit this form, on that time you are sending a request to this login admin page with this username and password. So to catch this one we need to extend superclass http servlet. Then after for the get and post request I'm going to create a method public void do get. For the request parameter, right? So we need to include this package. So shortcut is Ctrl+Shift+O to import all this package, right? Okay, so now we are inside our doGet method. Let's try to catch that request. So before that, this will be our root request, right? Because it is root, I am going to use slash here. And to catch this servlet, that means this request, you can use method known as get servlet path. So I'm going to create a string. Use action will be equal to request.get servlet path. So for my current request, when I submit this form, this action will be login admin, right? So we can use a switch here to check which kind of request we got. Switch based on the action. I'm going to write a case. So for the login admin request, we'll create a method check login with the request and response parameters and break. Then now we can add default. For the default request, I am going to load home page. So we'll create this method later. In this video, I am going to implement this login functionality, right? Okay, so when you hover, you can create method check login with these two parameters. I'm going to click this one, then now it will create this method, right? So we'll check whether we have got that information or not. I'm going to create variable string username, which is equal to request.get parameter, a variable name username, right? Then string password, we'll use user pass. You can use any name for this variable. Request.get parameter, right? Then I'm going to output system.out.println username, which is equal to plus username. We'll check whether we have got this information or not. So here you can see we have uname and upass, which is the variable which I use inside this login.jsp to identify this variable uname and upass. So I'm going to save this program. So we'll run this program again. I'm going to click run as unknown server. Then after we'll click admin login and I'm going to select user and password 1234. We'll click login. Now you can see we have successfully navigated into login admin page with the username user password 1234. So we'll check whether we got this information in the backend, right? Username user, which we got from this line, right? So in my login controller I have output this username, right? Now so instead of checking username and password like this, I am going to check this username and password from the database, right? For that we can create a database which is using MySQL Workbench. I'm going to create database. So I have given username as a root and password as a root. Right, so here we'll create our table, right? Before creating table, I'm going to create a database. We'll use name as a create database Safari DB. Use Safari DB to use this database. I'm going to run this program. So we have successfully created our database. If I refresh here, you can see we have this database, right? But we haven't created any table yet. So first we'll create a table for the user. There will be two columns, username, vacha, 100 characters, not a null, and password. For the password I am going to give 20 characters, not null. So we are going to give multiple values here. We will give one row inside this table for the username and password. Then after we will check whether the user is entering that correct username and password for the admin privilege. Right, so insert into my user table. I'm going to insert values for the username SD, for the password 12345. Right, so you can see we have successfully insert. If I click select all from user table, on that time it will return all these values, right? We have SD 12345 as the values here. So now we have created our database table. Then after we need to make a connection between our this application and that backend database, right? For that I am going to create a different Java class. We are calling this data access object, right? So we'll create new Java class. So I'm going to give name login DAO, data access object. So we'll use same package. Here we are using package by. So to group relevant content we are using package, right? For all the content, all the classes related to login, I am going to group inside st.login package. Right, so we have this login package, login class, right? Then after we have this login controller. Whenever user enter correct username and password, on that time I am going to create a method. For example, we'll create check login. Then after when you pass this username and password into this method, on that time if it return true, that means we have successfully logged in, right? Otherwise it need to return false. So to create this method, I'm going to use this data access object class. Inside this class we will check whether this username and password are correct or not. So before that we need to connect with our database, right? We need to connect with our MySQL database. For that I'm going to create a function. So we'll use function name as public. Return type will be connection. It will return a database connection as a return type. I'm going to give name as a DB connection. Right, we need to import this package. Control Shift O, it will import this package. And here we'll create a variable connection type variable. You can use any name. I'm going to assign this value, initial value, into null, and we'll return this variable from this function. So to connect with your database, you need to give username, password, and URL, right? So I'm going to create a string URL, which is JDBC :MySQL localhost 3307 / our database name is what? Safari DB, right? I have given name as a Safari DB. Then string username will be root. String password will be again root. Right, so we got these three things. Now we need to define our driver class name, right? So class dot for name, I'm going to give class name as com.mysql.jdbc.driver. Right, so here you can see we got error because maybe there will be a class not found exception error, right? So prevent this one, I'm going to write this inside try catch block. So we'll copy and paste this into try catch block to catch this kind of exception. And if there is any exception, I'm going to print that is stack trace. Right, so after that we can connect, right? Connect to DB. So for that I have created connection variable. Then connection variable will be equal to our class name, that means driver manager. From driver manager class I'm going to call get connection function URL. Then after username and password we need to pass. So if you have given username and password as a root, then you need to pass that too. If you have given any other username and password for the MySQL workbench, you need to pass that too here. These things are same. Here my port number is 3307. If your one is 3306, you need to pass that one here. Then after this one is our database name. Right. So if we have successfully connected into, then after we can write system.out.println successfully connected to database. And after connecting successfully, it will return this connection variable, right? It need to return this connection variable. So this is how we are connecting into MySQL database from the Java Servlet application, right? So data access object class. Now I am going to write a method check given username and password correct. For the check login, so we'll create public boolean check login. So parameter will be username and password. Right, whenever we give username and password, on that time we need to check that from the user database for the correct credentials. If these two are correct, then after we can return true from this function, otherwise false, right? So first I'm going to create a connection variable, will be db connection function, right? So db connection function means this function, this will return connection string and store inside this connection variable. By default we will return false from this function. Right, so again I'm going to write this content inside try catch block to handle exception. e.print stack trace. Right, so we'll write our code. First I need to write a query to get that particular row from the database, right? So my database name is what? Name is Safari DB. Then after I have created one table with the name user, right? Then after we have two columns, username and password. So I have given value sdn12345 as the correct username and password. Okay, so we'll write query string. Query will be select all from user table where username is equal to our given username and password is equal to this password. So why I use question mark here? So I'm going to write a prepared statement to prevent SQL injection, right? Either if you want, you can use normal query, select all from user where username is equal to uname and password equal to upass, or else you can write prepared statement like this. For that we need to call prepared statement class. I'm going to create object ps will be equal to connection dot prepare connection. So we'll import this package connection dot prepared statement. Parameter will be our query, right? Then after here we have two question mark, right, for the username and password. So we need to set the string for these two username. For the first one, ps.set string, both are string values. First one will be username. So second one will be, second question mark will be user pass. This should be set string, right? So why I use 1 and 2? Here you can see we have two question mark. 1 mean first one, 2 mean second one. Uname and upass mean values which we are getting through the parameters. Now we can run this query, right? When you run this query, it will return a result. To store this result, we are using result set table. I'm going to create object and rs will be equal to ps.execute query. It will return a table of row and columns, right? So a table of data representing a database result set, which is usually generated by executing a statement that queries the database, right? So by using this rs object, we can check whether we have got any values or not. If rs.next if this return any value, that means true or false, that means we have successfully got a query, right? On that time we can return true, otherwise it will return by default false, right? If there is any query with the given username and password, in that time it will return true. Okay, so we have created database connection, login do, then after db connection method, after that login check-in method. Now I am going to move into the controller class and we'll write the if condition here. If, and again I need to access into this login do class user check login method, right? For that we can create this class object inside our method, our controller class. Login DAO, object name will be DAO, will be equal to new login DAO. This is how we creating class object, right? Then not by using this DAO letters, we can access check login method. I'm going to pass username and password. If this return true, on that time we can output system.out.println successfully logged in. Otherwise we need to output wrong credentials, right? So successful login or wrong credentials, right? Now I'm going to run this program and let's see whether we are getting correct output or not. We'll move back, refresh, user 123, wrong username and password. Let's see here, wrong credentials, right? If I enter correct username and password, right, so we got the exception error, right? Let's see. Right, so we are using MySQL. For that we need to use a particular file, right? So you need to add JSP file for the MySQL. So you can download this file from this website, MVN repository. Then after search for the MySQL connector. So here you have MySQL connector. Then select the latest version and then after download jar file, right? So instead of downloading this one, I already download. So this is 2.5 MB file. For this entire project we are going to use some files, right? So I'm going to add this file. Here I have this file inside my JSP folder, Servlet JSP JSTL library. Then after we have MySQL connector. So I will share this as a GitHub link in the description, you can find. So you need to copy this file into src web, then after your library folder, right? You need to copy all these three files into library folder. Right, so now if I open this library folder, you can see we have this three file. Now again we'll save our program and we'll move back. We'll run this program again, right? Run as, run on server. Right, so there is no errors, it will open inside our browser. Right, so I'm going to close this previous tab. We'll move into admin login. Username will be SD, password will be 12345, correct username and password. So let's see whether we have login or not. Successful login, right? Now there is no errors also. We have successfully configured that errors by adding this MySQL connector to connect into our database jar file. And also we have successful login, that means correct username and password took from the database. Now whenever there is a successful login, on that time I need to move into the dashboard page, admin dashboard page. So we'll create a page, JSP page with the name dashboard. And I'm going to take a copy of this login.jsp content and we'll paste this inside this page and we'll remove this content. Okay, so we have this content. This one will be admin dashboard, right? Now here I'm going to add the h1 tag, welcome to admin dashboard. So we will move back, refresh. Right, so we have this page. Now from the controller, whenever there is a successful login, on that time we need to move into this page. For that, response.send redirect. So we are going to redirect this from this page to dashboard.jsp page. On the wrong login, if this login is wrong, on that time response.send redirect will be login.jsp page again. So there will be exception because maybe there will be no input output for this file. So for that I'm going to throw this exception from here. Right, so this is our controller file now, right? Again we got exception here also. Right, so then after, whenever there is a login admin request from the login form, on that time it will move into check login. After that, if username and password is correct, it will move into dashboard, otherwise login.jsp, right? I'm going to refresh. Wrong username and password, user 123 will send back into the same page, right? So now correct username and password 12345. So we will send to the admin dashboard. So in the next video, we will configure this admin dashboard by using a table to get the table values from the database, and after that we will implement CRUD operation and other thing. And also here I am going to add the logout button, and we will configure that one in the next video.